In your high school, you must have encountered at least one compulsive bully who would harass his fellow students and then turn into the most disciplined of pupils in front of the teachers. In fact, harassing others behind the curtains and turning sensible in public view seems to be a common characteristic of all bullies. Xi Jinping, one of the biggest bullies that you would find in international politics today, is infected with the same issue. He bullies other nations all the time, but also wants to run a propaganda campaign to project Beijing as a benevolent power. Hi and welcome to TFI Global, the foreign affairs and geopolitical analysis arm of the TFI Media Group. I'm your host Atul Mishra, and in this video I will tell you why China is celebrating Meng Wanzhou's return but is hiding reports of the release of two Michaels as a quid pro quo. Let's begin. China's hostage diplomacy has finally come to an end, and probably for the first time in the history of modern civilization, a sovereign country has actually used extortion and blackmail involving the citizens of another country to achieve geopolitical goals. So China is doing what it does best to avoid people's wrath: censorship. Beijing is therefore hiding the news of the release of the two Michaels who were arrested by China in order to secure the release of top Huawei executive Meng Wanzhou. Meng Wanzhou, who was in detention in Canada since December 2018 in relation to an extradition request made by the US, has been released by Ottawa after a judge discharged her. Wanzhou's release seems to be a quid pro quo, as hours after the news of Huawei's executive's discharge, Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau announced that the two Michaels, both of them Canadian citizens, including a former diplomat who were arrested in response to Wanzhou's arrest in 2018, have been freed and were on their way to Canada. Huawei is at the center of China's global domination strategy, and therefore, when Wanzhou came back to the communist nation, she was given a rousing welcome by the Chinese government. The Chinese state media welcomed Wanzhou back to the motherland. Chinese state broadcaster CCTV also released a statement by the top Huawei executive. It stated her eyes were blurring with tears as she approached the embrace of the great motherland. CCTV quoted Meng Wanzhou as saying, "Without a strong motherland, I wouldn't have the freedom I have today." Huawei, a Chinese telecom giant founded by Meng Wanzhou's father Ren Zhengfei, said that it looked forward to seeing Miss Meng returning home safely to be reunited with the family. China is welcoming its princess Meng Wanzhou's return. Chinese state media news agency Xinhua and Global Times editor-in-chief Hu Shijin also celebrated Wanzhou's release. However, none of the CCP's mouthpieces care to talk about Michael Spavor or Michael Kovrig, who were apparently released by Beijing as a precondition to secure Wanzhou's release. Well, in China's defense, the quid pro quo involved in securing the top Huawei executive's release is a secret, and a dirty one at that. Let's get it straight. As soon as Meng Wanzhou was arrested in Canada on a US extradition request, there were demands in China to get her released. Being found a rather primitive and uncivilized method to get Wanzhou back, it kidnapped two Canadians and used them to extort and strong-arm Canada. Now, this is not a pretty little secret that China would be casual about. It is simply impossible for Beijing to admit to its 1.4 billion citizens that it kept two Canadians in arbitrary custody for around 3 years in order to secure Wanzhou's discharge. China played too dirty a game, and no one can condone it. Today, the Chinese state-owned media enterprises may talk about freedoms and liberties, but it is at the forefront of a brutal episode that involved coercion and an ugly display of ruthlessness with two Canadian nationals. China's propaganda machinery seems to realize that it would be going a bit too far if it admits that it resorted to state-sponsored kidnapping in order to bring back the Huawei princess. Xi's hostage diplomacy may have got him a few optics of Meng's return, but in terms of public opinion, it has turned out to be catastrophic, which is why CCP is censoring it.